Alright, we're going to put a cheesy front suspension leveling kit. So basically you can see on that rear wheel that there's about 4, 5, 6 inches up front here. There's 2 inches. And I got these big old aftermarket wheels, and they're too big, and they're actually hitting this inner fender. They haven't done it on this side. They always do it on the other side, and I'll show you on it. They're not hitting here, but the other side they're hitting. And they're, I don't know why one side rubs and the other one doesn't. But basically, it's cutting the tire, and that's where it's getting into it. It's actually, I've had to bend this up in there 2 times already, and it's just scratching into this tire and taking the meat off of it. And in fact, I had moved the other ones back here, taking chunks out. I guess that line there's from the tire. Let's see if I moved it over here. Well, don't see it. I just have to take my word for it. I know it's tearing up the tire. But what we have here is a couple options. First option I bought was for the 05 Silverado, and basically these sit on top of, this has the old style springs, so basically underneath that this would sandwich up in there, and then that would give it its lift. But in order to get that out, you got to take these ball joints out, and I know these ball joints aren't any good, top or bottom, 1 or 2 of them, and hold that spring, let that drop down, and then slide this up in there. Well, I'm pretty sure that all those are old, and if I take them apart, I'm going to be wanting to replace them. So in my second option, these were 35 bucks. These were 20 a piece. And what these do, they sandwich. These are going to sandwich in between there and raise that up. So they have different options for this. This is a 1-inch spacer, so that easily looks 1 inch, but that doesn't look like 1 inch. And I can also see that that's sandwiched on this side and sprung out. So hopefully when I lift this up, those are going to spring out. I can slide that in there. I'm going to go for this one up here. It looks about middle. If I have to, I'll just put it in right there. And that should push that up and give that its space. So I went with the 1 inch. And so let me measure this, and we'll try to slide them in there, see how hard that is, and see what kind of leveling I get on this project. Okay, not really picking a perfect spot. Let's kind of go. It's somewhere about 33.5, give or take 33.5. That's a little more than 33.5, but right there where that scratch is, kind of up and down. Tape measure's not sitting good. That's a little less than 33.5, so we'll just call it 33.5, and we'll slide that in there and see if we get any improvement. All right, we got that jacked up, and it looks like those are going to be pretty hard to push in there. Now the outside sprung open, the inside didn't. So we're gonna have to figure out where I can jam that up in there. So let me see what I can do. They say about lubing them, so we'll see. Put a little bit of grease in there. I was able to get it started. I moved this tire out of the way, and I actually started feeding it through there, and it was actually going. So could you see where I was pointing? Up in this high, right there underneath the brake, it was actually going in there. So that's probably where I'm gonna start. Try to push it through. I just stuck my head in here, which is kind of dangerous, and started pushing it through there, and it started going. So let me try that. Well, to tell you the truth, it was kind of a booger to get in there, but as you can see on this high side, on both high sides, it's loose now. So I got the main center part, so I'm going to have to just repeat this, and I'll move this high one to just above there, just to make it match on both sides. Otherwise, if you don't make it match. So I'm hoping when I drop that down that this is going to be enough boost. The other thing, I almost needs 2 of them. I sure would hate to have to spend that kind of money to have 2 of them boosted in there, but what else you gonna do? And it's loose right now. So that was the 1 inch, and it's actually loose all the way around. Once you get those flappers in there, it holds in there. Sorry about that. Once you get that in there, see, it's loose now. You just have to get it over those ridges. I started it way down here, up here, and then pushed it around. So I started not down here, but I started here in the middle and was able to get it started and just started pushing it. Because once you get it in there, then you can slide it up or down wherever you want it. So I don't know, it may be better to move it up there all the way, but this is where it seemed like it had the most pinch there in the center. Well, that only gave that about 1/2 inch. That's right where that thing is. So that was a little less than 1 inch, 33.5. Now it's at 34 exactly. 34 and a little more. So that was a 1/2 inch lift. And basically, I don't really see any other way. I got them both right there in the middle. Both on the center there. So that's the black thing sandwiched in there. So basically, if you'd stick 2 of them in there, you might get your 1 full inch. But we're gonna test that and see if it's any good. That's the same thing. It's just sandwiched in there. So look at that, it's buckling right there. But maybe I need to slide that down to get more lift there. It's hard to tell where you would get the most benefit is where that's getting sprung the most, but it looked like it was kind of getting sprung right in the center the most, but I can't really visualize that. You know, it could be I don't know if that filmed it. I'm going to refilm that. This is loose. Look at that. It's not even pinching on it, but it looks like if I moved it all the way down to the bottom, it would get the most amount of lift on the spring. So we're going to test that theory and try to jack it up and spiral it all the way down to the bottom to get the most amount of lift out of it. So let me try that. Okay, I think I maybe got 1/8 of an inch more. Maybe not. Just wishful thinking. 34. But the thing that I do like about moving it all the way to the bottom is there's no more play. It's not loose in there anymore, so it's not gonna bounce out and move around. That's in there nice and tight. I basically spun them all the way to the bottom, so it's getting the lift on that lower piece. Basically, if you wanted more lift, you could come in here and put a second one. That's probably what I would do, and that would still have most of its sponginess, especially right in there. Would get you more of a lift, get you another 1/2 inch. So, but you know, that's a 1/2 inch. Maybe that's enough to keep it from bottoming out. 1/2 inch don't really look like much difference. So maybe those other ones would work better. That says like a 1 inch lift, but I really kind of doubt it. But that was 20 bucks each, and I did have to pay some shipping on one of them, so the shipping was $10, but if you order them both, it would have been 50 bucks for the pair. So 100 bucks if you want to get 2 of them, because to me, I don't think that's enough. But if it's enough, I'm not going to worry about it. This kit was not going to be just jacking it. It was going to be busting all that stuff loose to mount that on the top. It was going to be too much work. So let me give that a try, drive it around a little bit, and then I will do a little video to say whether it's bottoming out. That's what they are. A 1287 coil spring booster. And be careful, because when you go on there, it says spacers, and I thought I was getting 2 for 20 bucks. So if you would go on eBay, that's why I bought this, because it said spacers, not spacer. So I thought I was getting 2 for 20 bucks, but then they only shipped me 1. You know how I felt about that. So got to order 2 of them, and those will fit on that 05 Chevy truck. Half inch, all you got out of these 1-inch spacers. All right, we're back on these spring boosters. Sorry about my shadow there. So I'm going to pull one of the other ones out real quick, and we'll look at them side by side. But these are Ride Effects full 1-inch. These don't say anything about 1-inch. Mystery package. This says how to install them. I know it ain't gonna add 1-inch because it's barely that wide there. So we're gonna pull one out, see the difference in them, and probably just put them both in, see what kind of ride height we get. I was kind of curious to see whether we still had our 34 inches. That is about center of the tire. Not quite 30.5, so we sure didn't get much height out of those first boosters. That's why I'm getting a second one. So those on this big old heavy truck, that's a lot of weight smashing those things down. So let's see if they're still even in there. I put them on the bottom, very bottom coil, so they couldn't fall out. Looks like we could just slide the next one right below it, maybe. I'll get it jacked up. Okay, I'm up here setting these springs. I can't tell visually whether that looks any higher. Looks nothing. But who's going to be able to see an inch? So the part number on this one is 1901. 1.5 inch thick, adds up to 1-inch lift. BS does not. Not on these springs. So basically, I got them stacked in there, double high, and basically the only place that they're taking up slack is on this section, on this side of the spring, because the way these kind of spool that direction. So that was my goal, was to lift these 2 up a little bit. I wanted to put it in there, but I didn't know if it would make any difference. I was just kind of thinking that bottom would be the best place, because if they try to spiral down to the bottom anyways when it's lifting up, at least it's, see, this one's clear down over here. The second one starts here and spools up over there. So it's kind of lifting it up on this side too, but see how it's loose on that side? See, they'll come out. I could almost pull that out already. So it's doing nothing there but compressing only on one side of the spring. And when you did it up here, it was even worse. It didn't want to compress. So I'm thinking one that bounces, that it would be a bit better just to keep it on the bottom. I saw that they zip tied them, but I don't know. I didn't really want to zip tie them and just leave them on the bottom. So let's measure. I'm gonna turn this off, get out my measure. Quite sad. It was not quite 3.5 and not even quite another quarter. So 2 of them together didn't even get 1 inch on it, 3/4 of an inch. So that is bogus. What I probably needed to do was use that other kit that actually put it up in the top of the shell. The thing that I wanted to show you that I didn't have in the other video. The reason why I'm even doing this, because this kept bottoming out. It would bottom out on this side, not on the other side, just this side, and it would catch this and actually peel this metal down into the tire, pull the tire. I guess when you were turning or a bounce, making a turn and bouncing, coming up that driveway right there is where it would do it. So hopefully that's enough. If I got 3/4 of an inch, that should make it clear. Visually, it looks no different. 3/4 of an inch, you wouldn't even see that. So that's probably fine, as long as it don't rub. Didn't spend a whole lot of money. I think I spent, I don't know. I spent 60, 70 bucks to make my tires not rub. Got to be a better solution. The other solution would be to put the right ones on there, these, but that's taking that whole front end apart. This was pretty easy. Would be to take that front spring apart and put that in on top of the spring. And then I'd be mad when it only give you 1/2 inch. Same thing. You'd just be like, what a waste of time. So you could put that in there and those. Definitely get your thing, but I didn't want to put this in there till I was going to do something with the ball joints. So we'll just save that, and if I go to replace these ball joints, uppers and lowers, and actually have that thing apart, then we'll put that in there.